Hey guys, what's up? Devoted Friend 72. What does it mean? Where does it come from? What is it? How did I pick that? Of all of the things that I could pick in the world, my original screen name was Grilled Peaches. Grilled Peaches was what I originally had. It was a concept. I had a blog. It was the whole thing. It was basically, the philosophy behind it was we had tried grilled peaches at one of our cookouts, and we thought grilled peaches, it was kind of tongue-in-cheek because obviously the peach is, sometimes associated with the butt. And so grilled peaches was just kind of a sexy, kind of fun, provocative name. A lot of times pictures of grilled peaches would have like the cream or the butter sliding down the half of the grilled peach. And the blog was all about things that we hadn't tried before and why hadn't we tried them and what else were we leaving on the table in life. So a place that you hadn't gone, something that you hadn't thought about. It could be anything. It could be like, have you ever played billiards? Are you into video games? Have you tried wine? Have you ever tried to cook Russian food? Whatever it is, that was basically the concept of trying new things. What are we leaving on the table? What else haven't we tried? And then grilled peaches and things like that became a staple we would, cook chicken and, whatever, or we'd grill burgers, and we would also have some grilled peaches for dessert. So what are we leaving on the table? That was originally where the grilled peaches name came from and what my original screen name was. Well, then there were some people that found it that we didn't want to take our racier side of life into our work life and church life and friend life and relatives and all of that. So we decided that we were going to change the screen name on things and change the blog and just kind of get rid of the whole grilled peaches thing altogether. And so we looked into changing it because we didn't want people to find it. And so I had done a bodybuilding contest. I got involved. For years, people online called me Peaches because that was what they always called me. They didn't know my name was Patsy. And so it just became this whole thing. We switched it over to Devoted Friend. And where did Devoted Friend come from? Well, Devoted Friend came from what I didn't realize was a lifelong love of Oscar Wilde and his writing. His sense of humor, his style, his talent, his ability to weave words into this magical way that taught you a lesson. It had a biting, cutting sarcasm that was just so witty and so Oscar Wilde. And so Devoted Friend is one of Oscar Wilde's fairy tales. He wrote a series of fairy tales that had like morals. They had a little life lesson in them, the moral of the story. And so when I was younger, we had these little cassettes and they were beautiful. They were like mint green and purple and pink and every imaginable color. And we had Bible stories and we had an Oscar Wilde story called The Selfish Giant. I didn't know as a little, very small child who Oscar Wilde was or that he had written The Selfish Giant. All I knew was that they had these little storybooks. They were on cassette and they were called the Super Scope Storytellers. You can actually find some of them on YouTube. Someone's actually put the recordings on YouTube. So Super Scope Storytellers, and I had Cinderella, Selfish Giant, Thumbelina, David and Goliath, Noah's Ark. There were more. We had a bunch anyway, and we had the little books that went with them. And I'm pretty sure that I still have some of those books at my parents' house, or maybe I have them from when my kids were little, but I'm pretty sure I still have The Selfish Giant. Also, I have many other versions of The Selfish Giant that I bought for my kids because I love the story of The Selfish Giant. And it's a classic. And Devoted Friend is a Oscar Wilde fairy tale that I discovered later in life, before I had children, but I would think I was in my 20s, and I had gotten the fairy tale. I got the anthology book as a gift one year, and then I had purchased the fairy tale book that had all of his fairy tales in it because Selfish Giant was in there, and I started reading them all. And there was The Nightingale and the Rose, which is heartbreaking. The Fisherman and His Soul, The Happy Prince, Star Child, The Remarkable Rocket, and A Devoted Friend, or The Devoted Friend. The Devoted Friend is this crushing tale about little Hans the gardener and his friend, his devoted friend, the wealthy miller. And basically, little Hans is just a blessing of a person that would give you the shirt off his back, and he would do anything for you, and he was a devoted friend. Well, then there's the miller, who totally exposes that, uses him, exploits his kindness and his generosity, always to little Hans's detriment. He's got some flowers he wants to sell at the market because he needs it to get food for the winter, or, whatever. And the miller says, like, oh, here, I brought you this basket, for you to give me some blossoms from your garden. And so then he's like, oh, and fill it up, And so then he's like, oh, now I'm not going to have any left over to sell. But little Hans does it anyway. He blesses his friend. He puts his friends before himself, and in the end, it doesn't go so well for little Hans, and it's a very sad tale. And it's all about what kind of friend you're being to someone and what kind of friend they're being to you, and who's a real friend. What's the definition of a devoted friend? And you can hear my devoted friend, Henry, tapping, tapping, tapping. I'm trying to break Henry of her habit of nesting in one of the drawers, and so I have the cage closed right now, and she's not happy about it, but she's been laying unfertilized eggs, which isn't good for her, so she's locked up at the moment. And I'm sorry, Henry. Before you feel bad for her, her cage is enormous. It's taller than me, and it's like super wide, and it's for African parrots, and Henry is like that big. So no, don't feel bad for her. She has a whole cage that's a flight cage for her. She can fly all over the place. Anyway, and it's full of food and toys and everything else. But the devoted friend. So that is where my screen name came from, Devoted Friend, because when I was trying to think of a new name for something, I thought, you know what? I love Devoted Friend, and I love the message behind it. And one of the greatest things I think in life is really looking at how you treat people and how others treat you, and doing the things that not only work for you, but work for others, and what that balance is. And it took me until my late 20s, early 30s to really start looking at what do I want to do. And when I got married, I had sat at so many wedding ceremonies over the years and heard so many people tell me that they were dreading going to someone's wedding, or that it was such a nice day they couldn't believe they had to waste it going to a wedding, and the people were probably going to get divorced anyway, and blah, blah, blah. So when I got married, I had about 75 people at my wedding. I had a very small wedding. I only invited people that I thought would truly want to actually be there. I didn't invite people as part of a list of people that I thought I should invite. I invited people that I thought would actually want to come and celebrate the day with me. And so it was a very small crowd. And so nobody really talked bad about our wedding, because everybody that was there was someone who genuinely belonged there and wanted to be there. And so I did that philosophy a lot throughout my life. I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but I also wanted to make sure that I wasn't putting people out. You want to be a blessing, not a curse to people. If you're inviting them to a get together, you don't want it to be something that they really feel like they have to do, but they don't want to do. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings either. But that balance in devoted friends always fascinated me. And so when I chose my Twitter name, or my ex name, and then for this, and then eventually my OnlyFans name, I picked Devoted Friend. I love the whole concept. I love the name Devoted Friend, and I also love the fact that it can kind of transition into my devoted friends, devoted following, devoted fans, whatever you want to call it. But it is the people in life that chose to support me after my divorce and later in life when I was struggling, the people that are supporting me as I left my full-time job and I'm now on OF full-time. I feel like those are my devoted friends. Those are my friends that stuck with me and wanted to be a part of it, and how much I appreciate it. The 72 is my birth year. You guessed it. I was born in 1972. So Devoted Friend 72, which appears on a lot of my social media, is my birth year. I am going to be 54 in September. Right now I am 53, and I am doing everything I can to not only not look 53, but not feel 53. I would rather feel younger and look older than the opposite, because it's everything. When you wake up in the morning, when you have to carry something, when you have to reach for something, when your purse is in the back seat and you want to reach and grab it, then and people joke around about this whole chair yoga thing. But I'm telling you, those movements are specifically for reaching and core strength and not losing that. And if you're outside and you slip on the ice, and you can A, catch yourself, or B, get back up again. And I'm telling you, that is important. And looking good, yeah. I mean, I have the vanity to say, and obviously my job is OnlyFans, so I have the vanity to say that I not only want to feel good, but I also want to look good. I don't want to look my age. I want to look younger and better and clearer and fresher. And so that's what I kind of aim for. But it's a balance. Everything is a balance. And so that is what Devoted Friend as a brand, as a concept, as a philosophy means to me, is that you're balancing. You can eat a Taco Bell every once in a while, but you need to eat a lot of salads. You need to be drinking your water. You need to take vitamins. You need to be getting your rest. You need to be exercising. You need to be spending time with people that bring you joy. You need to be listening to music that you like, and you need to be improving your brain, whether you're doing puzzles or you're reading or you're watching things or you're listening to podcasts, but you need to be educating yourself and growing physically, spiritually, mentally, the whole 9 yards. Devoted Friend is a balance. And that's what I love about the story. That's what I love about Oscar Wilde. He was so witty. And if you get into his biography at all, who he was as a person, because back in the day, and I found out something interesting that kind of connects the two things, but there was a lot of shade kind of thrown at Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, because of some of the concepts, the Count having Jonathan as his kind of victim, his servant, his whatever. A lot of people kind of homoeroticized that concept, and Dracula's wives and their connection to each other and their connection to Jonathan. There's a lot of sexuality in it. Dracula itself is based on Camilla, which was a lesbian vampire story from before that. And Bram Stoker's Dracula came out about the same time that Oscar Wilde was in prison for homosexuality. There's a great story about him being in prison for homosexuality where he was, because it's so typical of what I've read of his character, he was actually not doing well physically in prison, and so there was a chance that he might be released based on his health. And when they came to assess him, in the legend goes, he was sitting up on his bed and he was like telling this grand story to all of his fellow prisoners, so obviously not looking very sick at the time. And so he kind of hurt his chances for his own release because he was just so bent on entertaining the other prisoners with his stories. And he was just a magical storyteller. And if you have ever read any of his works, you know he had such a wit about him, such a talented writer. And so many fabulous quotes are attributed to him, and I'm not sure if they are 100% him, if they're originally him, or if they're just things that he was famous for saying. But one of my favorites is, "Be yourself because everyone else is taken." So have a fabulous day, my devoted friends. And I endeavor to be a lot more like little Hans and a lot less like the milk.